Dear students, today we will see the memory management concept. So when talk of memory management, it is all about talking primary memory management itself. So we all know the different types of memories available. That is, cache is one type of memory, the primary memory is another one, and secondary memory is the third one. Now we know that the primary memory is small, is costly, and is speed, and secondary memory is bigger, is less cheaper than the primary memory, but it is slow, and cache is smaller than these two and used wherever it is possible. So now we'll see how exactly the memory management fits here and how we can handle it. See, I have drawn a flow here wherein I have CPU, then I have a cache, then I have a primary memory, then the secondary memory. So we can't have all the processes or instructions in a primary memory with respect to a particular system, because we can't be affordable, or we can't afford a primary memory with a bigger size. So what we have done is we are putting all unused, present time talking, unused instructions or processes in a secondary memory. Okay, whenever it is required, we will drag it to the primary memory, and from then it will be executed by the or with the help of CPU. Now, as I told, we have to concentrate on primary memory right now than other memories, because we have to properly utilize the space, the primary memory in a better and efficient way. So to do this, we should be having a basic hardware support, and we will see those things now. So usually with respect to memory management, two issues are there. One is the frequency of memory access by CPU. See, primary memory will be accessed n number of time by the CPU. Now somehow we have to make sure that this transition should be fast. So for that we can use a cache memory in between, as it is shown here. So this is one solution to speed up the work between or communication between CPU and the primary memory. And next one is the protection of the operating system and with the operating system and its users, to make sure that the whole system will not be spoiled or attacked by the unauthorized user. So this can be done with the help of two registers. One is called as base register, which holds the smallest legal physical memory address, and the second one is the limit registers, which specifies the size of the range. I repeat, the protection can be achieved by two registers. One is base register and the second one is limit registers. What is base register? Base register is nothing but the smallest legal physical memory address, and the limit register is nothing but it specifies the size of the range. So let us see with an example how it works. See, in this example we have a base register called as 30,004. Okay, 30,004. Now the limit register is 12,090. Now what will happen is the total legal access will be 30,004 plus 12,090. That becomes 42,094. So this is what we call it as a program which has a legal access to addresses between 30,004 to 42,094. So this is what how we can achieve the protection here. Hope it is clear what is base register and limit register and how they help us to protect our system. So the memory space will be protected with the help of CPU hardware. Here it is how it works. CPU is here, address has been sent, the number, base register checks whether it is in the limit. If it is yes, then it takes to the next one, or else it says no. Then base plus limit, as I said, it is a range. If that range it permits less than that range, then it goes and memory will be allowed or information will be accessed. or else it says no, and it is called as illegal access of information. This is how we can protect our system. So usually the base and limit registers are loaded by the operating system itself. As we all know that operating system always works in kernel mode, so it is not possible for anybody or any processes to malpractice the things which are addressed in a kernel mode. So by giving authority or by using authority, the base and limit registers, if loaded by the operating system only, then our system will be more safer and faster and protective. Hope it is clear how we protect our system with the availability of basic hardware with the help of base and limit registers. Now the next thing which has to be addressed is address binding, because each instruction in a memory is associated with the address. So now the address binding can be done in three ways, that is compile time, load time and execution time. Let us see what they are with an example. So compile time, it is nothing but, say for example, you have taken a train tickets, you have made reservation, you know your seat number, your bogie number and everything. When you board your train, you will know that my seat number is this, bogie number is this and this. So this is what we call it as compile time address binding, wherein you know exactly where is my instruction and how to pick it up. Okay. Now load time. What is load time? So in when you have a reservation for the flights, when you go up till you go to the airport, until you take the boarding pass, you will not be knowing which seat is been allocated to you. So this is what we call it load time. While you are boarding, you will be knowing which seat you have been given or allocated. So this is exactly what happens in instruction address binding with respect to instructions in address binding process. And then the execution time is nothing but you have got into the flight and sitting on your seat number whatever it is, but suddenly you find that somebody comes and requests, sir, I want to sit here because next to you my mother is sitting, my wife is sitting or my brother is sitting. Then you will say, okay, I am alone, I will leave it. So you will shift from your seat to the another seat, and that to his seat. So there is a relocation, there is what we call as you have been changed your seat. So this is what we call as run time, it is called as execution time. I hope you understood how address binding works. Compile time means you know everything where instruction is there and you will go and get it done. Load time is you move to the train correctly, but what will happen, you will not be knowing where it is. Sometimes it might be relocated, only thing. And last one is run time. So this is how what we call as address binding. This is how address binding works. Okay, up till now you know how exactly the protection of our system is done, memory with respect to, then address binding is also done. Now we'll see what is logical and physical address. What is the difference between that? We can see or find out it with this diagram. See here, CPU always generates an logical address. I repeat, CPU always generates an logical address. Now relocation register, we can call this one as base register also. Then what will happen is this logical address with the relocation address added will become a physical address, and from then the memory will be accessed and information required by CPU will be passed on to the CPU. Now here we can see this is done through a tool called as memory management unit. I repeat, a logical address is the address which is generated by CPU, and physical address is the address which exactly what my memory understands. Okay, this is achieved through something called as memory management unit, wherein a base register will be there. So relocation register, what will happen is logical address plus relocation register address combined together is it becomes a the physical address. For example, 346 is a logical address, 14,000 is my physical address, that is location register. 14,000 plus 346, 14,346 is the physical address of the memory. I hope it is clear what is logical versus what is physical address space. Now we will see the what is dynamic loading. We all know that in a program there are so many functions, routines which we have written. All are not required at a time. So what we do is in dynamic loading, we only load main program first. As and when the functions are called, it will be pushed into the memory and all work will be done and executed. I repeat, in dynamic loading what will happen? Only main program is loaded. Whenever a demand comes for a particular routine or a function will be given to the what you call as uploaded or pushed into the memory, and which is used for execution for purpose. This will help to increase the utility of memory and efficiency of the memory also. Now dynamic linking and shared libraries. Here what as I said, only main program is loaded during dynamic loading and routines will be loaded as and when demand comes. So even in routine what will happen is, say for example there is a condition, if this happens go to that, if this happens go to this. There's a two conditions within routine. Now there is no we don't want to load all the routines. Sometimes conditional statements are there, so we have to go to here from there and all those things. So what we do is we do something called as dynamic linking, wherein a concept called as stub is used. What stub does is it will help to locate where exactly this particular routine is placed in memory, if not how to bring it from the wherever it is. So I hope the whole concept is clear now. Any queries and all, you can come back to me always. Thank you very much for watching. Sorry.